Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, Susan, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but
Okay,
you can't
great.
hear me, right? You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. Because Zoom is telling me my microphone is not working.
Oh, okay.
Okay, let's see who will be joining today. So I know there are some public holidays going on this week.
Yep.
When is Labor Day? It's somewhere in September in the US, is my memory.
Yeah, I think it's the first weekend of September.
Yeah, good that we all celebrate that being part of the working force just on different dates.
When is it in Australia?
Maybe we don't celebrate that. I don't know. I think the China version is like from like the Russian system, like the
Okay.
communism. So I think like they called themselves like International Labor Day. But, you know, of course, in the US, it's different date. And in Australia, I don't know if we have one. Like we probably have like Queen or King's birthday instead. Like we have different. Like
I
every
see.
country, I think they make sure they have certain number of public holidays. You can't just have all the celebrations in the world, so they'd have to pick and choose.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense.
I see Louise have joined. Let me
Hello.
start sharing my screen. Hi, Louise.
Hi, Luis.
Hello.
Hey, so there's some public holiday this week, so it could be just us, so we'll get started. Can everyone see the entire screen or just the process?
I see that Google
You see the Chrome? Yeah, okay, cool.
Chrome.
Not the desktop everything. Okay.
No.
Yeah, because the terminology on Zoom, it says like you are screen sharing. So it's like, oh, am I sharing my entire screen?
Yeah, it is weird. They did improve a little bit the UI recently, I think.
I think that, yeah, I did. I think I saw some updates last week. Yes. Yeah, so I think the priority this week is getting the patch release out. So I've prepared the patch release branch, Akash, and what I've learned is, as discussed, the first thing that I've learned is if we had the right visibility for each dependable PR, we will be able to see the little banner that, hey, this dependable PR is applicable to a security fix. So we weren't seeing that before because yeah. But in the future, we'll have that access, so that's great. And for the cherry picking process, it is possible to cherry pick. So how I prepared this branch is by cherry picking, but you would need to cherry pick more than what the dependable list shows. So
Yep.
for example, one of the cherry pick thing I did was because we upgraded from Golang 1.2 to 1.21. So you just have to like grab
Yep. Yeah.
whatever you run into.
Yeah. This is probably why Gatekeeper doesn't do it this way.
Yeah. So that's how I prepared this branch. And then you run into a lot of merge conflicts.
Yep.
For the cosine one, there's like 60 merge conflicts on that cherry pick.
Okay.
The other thing was that, yeah, of course, we realized we probably need a scanner on different branches as well, because branch will diverge eventually. And just because dev is up to date, you still have missed packages in your release branch. So we will have to set up a process for that in the future release. But for this release, what I've done is I've targeted my fork dependabot onto the release branch to make sure there's no
Oh, I
unresolved,
see. Okay.
to make sure, since we don't have a scanner set up right now.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So I think I didn't cherry pick the unsupported AKS.
I don't think it's necessary. At least the other ones passed, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So please take a look at the updates, Akash, and then once this goes in so release 1.1.1 is just a temporary branch, which I will delete. So once we've merged this into our proper branch for 1.1, I will do the chart changes. I know, Akash, we've discussed on Monday that we'll do the chart changes against dev, but I looked at Gatekeeper, the chart changes for the patch releases, they're never in the master branch. So I can send some links. So I think they just directly make the chart changes against the patch release. So when I looked at their chart history in Gatekeeper, it only shows the major releases.
Okay. Yeah, that works too.
Yeah, I think the reason maybe like the working dev branch, the chart values and things, like you're gonna, if there's, deprecated things, and they will diverge as
Yeah.
well.
There's only just one concern, and I don't even know if it warrants it, is that in our Helm files, they reference the version of Ratify that you're going to use.
Yeah. So if
So
they're using, yeah, that's true. If they're using 1.1, ideally they would be on the release 1.1 branch, because dev is the moving branch.
that's correct. That's not the guidance we've provided though. So we could update the documentation. It's not as clean as actually that's probably not the best way to do it, because our quick start guide provides the URL to the Helm file. So the Git URL, and
Yeah.
that points to the default branch, and then you can easily just use that one command to get everything started. So ideally, we should have some way of updating that file on dev as well.
Yeah,
But
sorry, I just need to come back. I'm sorry, just had to let my cat in. She is scratching at the door, wanting to be let in. She's like, over there's like, oh, let me in. So I
she
just
needs
did
to be part of the Ratify meeting.
that. Yeah, maybe she wants to listen in. Hello, Sajay.
You need more pets, always.
Yeah, so Akash, with the Helm file, like if the customer is checked out the dev branch, would they think that they're on the latest development bits? And if they want to be on the latest stable release, should they be on the, the release branch?
Yeah, so the way we've structured it right now is that there's the dev.helm file, and then there's the helm file.yaml. And in the release notes that we have, it's clearly says do not make updates to the helm file.yaml. Make all your updates to dev helm file.yaml, and prior to release, we'll copy over. Yeah. So we could update that, and trying to see, is there a way we wouldn't require this manual copying step and then rely upon like some release control, like branch control, to actually get the same effect? Because I guess we could pin to the previous version. It's just we'd have to update our documentation every time to say, hey, we bumped the version, so now the URL is going to point to 1.3 or whatever. But this is a more minor thing. We could look into it after the fact too. What do you think? Should we fix this now or in a little bit?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's the status for the patch release. So our action item is we'll get this PR reviewed, and then we'll do the required chart change. And then does that mean we are ready for the release, Akash? So from the alerts, I would be able to grab the CVE details for the release notes. Is there anything else that we're missing?
No, I think for the release itself, we would just do it the same way as we've done any other release. On the release branch, we would just push the tag to the release branch, and that would kick off the the process. Yeah, we would need to monitor it just in case something we didn't account for, because it is our first time doing it. But barring any circumstances like that, it should just work.
Yeah. So the other thing, I will validate like the quick start test passes, because that like once we release, the bits gets updated, right?
Yeah.
So I have a question for so we're gonna be releasing this first patch release. The next one, so our sort of principle here is we're gonna be supporting release -1, right? So basically, when we release 1.2, we are gonna be continuing servicing patch releases for 1.1. What is
Yeah, we're gonna set a low bar in the beginning. So last dev sync, we said we're gonna support the end release. So as soon as we release 1.2, we'll only be servicing 1.2.
Okay. And so, okay, so then since we're gonna basically be servicing 1.2, we're gonna be releasing 1.2 soon. I mean, this is our only patch release for 1.1, right? Okay, got it. And so when we release 1.2, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna immediately branch to the 1.2 release patch release. So we can actually like integrate the Panda bots and everything, and we don't have to go through this like cherry picking exercise that we have to go through this first patch release, right?
So Dependabot, you can only target security fixes for the default branch.
Yeah.
It's a limitation.
So are we going? So we're gonna continue cherry picking once we do Dependa.
So Akash, you can talk to the gatekeeper scanners.
Yeah, so I spoke to the gatekeeper folks, and they also run into this issue where because of there's two dependabots actually. There's one dependabot that we configure via YAML file that we have in our repo that's in version control. And then there's a built-in repository level, GitHub level dependabot that you can enable externally on your repository. And that's only targets your default branch. So that's why that security patches are via the built-in dependabot through GitHub. And so you can't point that to multiple branches as of yet. There are some issues tracking it, but so far no traction there. So to get around that, Gatekeeper has a separate workflow which runs a set of vulnerability check tools. So both Trivy as well as this thing is called Go Vuln Check. It's some third-party extension that will run the action on that. And then it basically will flag if there's any recently detected vulnerabilities. So we would need to run that on the release branch on some sort of schedule to say, hey,
and then copy patch it.
Do they create PRs? Manual process.
So yeah, that's where the automation is no longer there, because after there's a vulnerability, you gotta take the action to basically say, oh, there's a vulnerability, now I need to patch it. I need to like push the package update manually to fix it. So it's not a fully complete process. I asked, in fact, on the Gatekeeper side, they don't even have this scanning functionality running on a schedule. So it's kind of done ad hoc. Whenever some sort of time has passed, then they'll run the scan on it. So there's no framework for that defined either. Which is
so this is what's the current release for 1.1 or 1.1?
Is Sajay very quiet or just my side?
Yeah.
No, it's quiet. I think he was asking what's the patch version.
I think my mic was missing. Is it okay now?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the reason for this not being a patch is instead of a minor upgrade? Or is it a minor upgrade?
So yeah, I think the PR is a little misleading, but this is a patch, so it is 1.1.1.
Okay, so it's 1.1.1. All right, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the release is 1.1.1. Okay, so maybe we're missing the patch version because I was expecting a major, minor, and a patch number.
So the way Gatekeeper and Notary Project do it is that the release branch only goes to the minor version, so 1.1 or 1.2, and then you keep adding your patch release changes onto the release branch, and then you cut the tag, which is all the way to your patch version.
Sounds good. No, I was just curious if the title was 1.1, and so it's a
Yeah, it's
release
confusing.
for
Sorry.
no, it's a patch
It's
release
a
for one.
patch for. That's
Yeah,
two ways
yeah.
of reading it completely.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. So I was asking why not Golang 1.22. We don't have to worry about that. The other thing is, just to clarify, I think it's better to write this down that we would only be patching the last minor release. That's what we agreed on, which is currently it's 1.1, and we kind of like keep patching 1.1 till 1.2 comes, and then we only patch 1.2 going forward. I think that's fine.
Yeah. We will
Yeah.
document.
So it looks, so from what you explained, we still haven't figured out like an automated way to do the patches. The most we can do is set up the scanning, and then after that we'll have to figure a way to patch.
If you release once in 3 months, then most likely you wouldn't have to worry about back porting any patches, and more when the CVs, when they come, we can do an on-demand. It's not too many times our critical CV kind of comes in also. I mean, some cases, it depends on your how big your dependency is, right? If Gatekeeper is doing a critical CV update, then yes, you will have to rev it.
As
Yeah.
far-
So
Yeah,
Yeah, no, go
sorry,
ahead.
just to this patch, there's only one high impact vulnerability. So we can also just say we're going to take all the high alerts and medium. We'll just wait to address in the next release. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the change, where there's a bunch of changes in source, right?
Yeah, I can. Do you want me to show the list of the fixed vulnerabilities? So this is being recorded, but I'm gonna upload this after we have released the patch.
Sounds good. Yeah, no, that's fine. I think I don't think you have to go through the details, but it's more like the changes are targeted only for the vulnerability itself, right? That's what you're saying.
Correct. So
Okay.
and it's this set here. So this one is high.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, everything else is moderate.
Yeah, but we're taking it all, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Let's just do it. And you just probably need a release note stating that all this was addressed.
Yep.
Well, fun enough doing real software now.
Okay, so then is there anything on your agenda, Akash, or are we ready to go through the PRs?
No, I didn't have anything specific.
Before you move on, and as far as the test running on the release branch, we basically set up the same, the same full suite
Yes.
for the release. Okay.
Yeah. We've updated the workflows to run the full suite of validations on the new convention release star.
Mhm.
So the test suite will run on a PR, which is why we create a PR on the release branch. And that'll be the process going forward. Back to our PRs. So I've marked the breaking, change, and deprecation doc as ready for review. This is just a basic set of rules that we're going to start following. And a lot of them is just we're already saying we follow semantic versioning, but this is just to reinforce that any breaking change when you upgrade from a stable minor, when you upgrade from your current minor version to the next stable minor version, breaking changes are defined by breaking to the API, schema, configuration, plugin interfaces, etc. And between minor releases, we will not introduce any breaking changes. Beta releases, we may introduce breaking change without deprecation notice, even though we may be following, for the certificate store, for example, we are going to leave certificate store for at least 2 releases before we really remove it in favor of the new KMP provider. But we just want to say that it's okay. We may introduce breaking changes.
This is for a major release only, right? Not for a minor release.
This is for a minor release. So
can you do a breaking change in a minor release? That would be odd.
Yeah, we're saying generally available features should not have breaking changes between minor release. Okay. Yep.
So certificate store is not is just like a beta feature right now? It's
funny because our CRD is still in beta. Like we're doing all these changes to the name, like to the scope for the multi-tenancy. So which is why we know we released it as a part of GA, and certificate store, you can configure the key vault and stuff like that, right? But it's in beta. The API itself is in beta. And we recently introduced KMP, and we're going to encourage user to switch to the new resource. But we're going to post a deprecation notice to certificate store. We're going to let it live for a bit, and then until we're sure that okay, it's not used anymore, it's okay to remove it. Which
the idea is to remove it on 2, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
And so we will be backwards compatible for the next 1 releases until 2 when we break.
I mean, you have an option of just starting the 2.0 milestone and saying this is going to be a breaking change for 2, and then do that so that you don't have a 1.5 or something without that in there somewhere, even in beta.
Yeah,
but it's okay to kind of like, it's okay to kind of like decide that once in, I don't know, 12 months to 18 months, you major version up, or even earlier, that's okay. As long as you have some cadence and you give enough heads up. I mean, there's no reason for us to kind of like pin ourselves to 1.0 for like, I don't know, more than 12 months, unless it's really, really important and people start screaming. So we can assume we're going to go to 2.0 and this is what's happening in 2.0 and define the scope for 2.0.
Yeah. Is it okay to leave the, we may introduce breaking change to beta? So
that's exactly why that's implicit by the fact of you saying that it's going to be 2.0. The moment you say that you're planning for 2.0, we can assume that you're going to have breaking changes, because the sim versioning is implicit to, I mean, you get a full flexibility to change everything, but you can be cautious enough to say, this is what you need to migrate to, and that's the breaking changes set, without kind of like revving the entire API spec.
Yeah. This is just setting a definition to like, what does beta mean? So in Kubernetes, they say, we released the feature in beta and they're going to support it for 3 releases.
Yeah.
And that's the bar they've set. Yeah.
Yeah. Kubernetes also doesn't do major version upgrades, right? Or at least they haven't done. It's still 1.27, 1.28, or whatever that is. So I think that's slightly interesting. It kind of means that they've never had a breaking change. I don't know whether that's true, but but
in their verbiage, like they have defined behaviors for API and behaviors for non-API related item, which they added a clause to say they can remove and introduce their breaking change 2 releases after a deprecation notice. So it depends on what they're changing.
Yeah, no, I think we can go with major version upgrades means possible breaking changes, and minor versions don't have any breaking changes. And we can rev our major versions rather than depending on minor versions. That's pretty standard somewhere is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I think the main thing here is to define the process of how do we introduce breaking changes? So even if we're, deprecating a alpha feature, we post a deprecation notice, we mark the PR, we list this on top of the release notes and create issues to help the customer to mitigate the change. And the same for deprecation, a notice must be posted as part of the release note. It should be the customers who's using the deprecated feature should be redirected to the alternative implementation. So this is a basic document, and we can just add to it over time. And
Okay.
I've invited E
Yeah.
and Thaman to give it a review as well.
Yeah,
Next
I
one.
think, sorry, Susan, on that one. Oh, no, never mind. So we would have something similar in terms of support, right? So I guess this is for breaking changes of the application, but like, the discussions we have about which versions of Gatekeeper do we support, we're compatible with versions of, like, we're supporting patch releases,
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah,
One
that'll
other,
be in release.md.
okay. One other piece of feedback, and I don't know if this has been discussed, interesting piece of feedback from the meeting, from the demo Cash made was that we're currently not signing our images, and we're kind of a CSSD workflow in that space service, right? And do we have any issues to track this?
Yeah, Akash and us, we had a little discussion around that,
Okay.
and Akash,
Yeah.
yeah, go ahead.
So regarding the provenance and SBOM that they recommended us to add, we can add that as part of the build kit integration. So that's how Gatekeeper does it too. There's a direct integration for generating that content, and then it'll get embedded as attestations inside the image or associated with the image. The signing workflow, we need to see how we can support that. Likely we'll need to use a tool like Cosign initially to sign the images.
Okay.
And then of course we can introduce open pub key or notary project support maybe later on.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe like, customers might want to, cloud providers and everyone that's kind of consuming Ratify might eventually want to have that as a requirement. So yeah, cool. So then we have an issue. I do have to drop now. I think Sajid as well. So
Yeah,
what
thanks
what
for
what was remaining on the agenda? It's just the rest of the PRs.
I think
correct.
Susan and I, we can spend some time discussing the multi-tenancy PRs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thanks, Louis. Unfortunately, Shanghai is not here today, so you folks can hang out and take it easy.
All right.
All right, bye.
Thanks. Bye.
So this one, I think I just reran the test to get the latest PR. Like, I think this is just adding the new CRD. So let me check. This one can be merged now. Because it's adding a lot of files, the code coverage, it's understandable.
Yeah.
So should we merge this now, Gosh? Oh my God.
Yeah, I think we can merge it.
I've had different coughs for the past month. It's amazing. Like going on to autumn, it's
Oh no,
such months.
that's not good. Allergies and all of that as well.
Yeah. Okay. The button should be squash and merge.
Yes. Don't make the mistake like I made.
Yeah, I've learned, like, okay, if possible, like if it's not too long to wait, let's squash during the meeting when you have multiple eyes, because it's very
Yeah.
tempting just like to click.
That's what happened to me. I was like, oh, yep,
Totally.
usual, and then
Yeah. Okay. Click.
yeah.
Does it give me a prompt? Okay. Confirm, squash, and merge. Okay, merged. Next one. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention, like when you have your fork to point to Dependabot, to enable Dependabot, then you're in this situation, your fork have a bunch of Dependabot branches that conflicts with the upstream Dependabot branches, because it would have opened the same PRs.
Sorry, I'm not following.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I think what happened on my fork is I've enabled Dependabot, and I've also enabled like create PRs to fix those vulnerabilities. So then you have local fork Dependabot branches, but upstream, because it's the same set of vulnerability, that upstream Ratify repo also have the same branches with the
Oh,
same
I
name,
see.
and you do a fetch, you run into issues.
Oh, okay.
So
I see the issue.
just to be aware, like if you ever do that, like it might mess up your environment.
Can't you specify the remote explicitly? So you can say like origin / or upstream / to fetch from a
To fetch, yeah. So you can't fetch everything, right?
but you're fetching specific branches anyway, right? So if you want
Yeah,
to
in my
fetch,
situation, I was trying to fetch, like for example, I pushed the release branch. Like there are multiple branches that I want to sync. Like I want to sync all of them. That's when you'll get into issues.
I see. Okay.
Because
Yep.
it's like all these dependable things, I can't lock the reference, and
Got it.
what I did as a workaround, I just had to go delete my local dependable branches.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of funny thing with dependable, like because I was targeting like multiple branches. Like before I was scanning v1.1, and then later I wanted to scan the updated branches. But Dependabot keeps a reference to the PR it's opened, and the old PRs references the old default branch. But it's kind of
Oh.
messy, is what I've learned.
Yeah. Okay.
Basically.
That's good to know, though.
Yeah. Just as a heads up, like that's why like it's not a good standard set of step. Like put your fork to, the
Yeah,
branch,
got it.
mess up things.
Makes sense.
Like I see the pain now.
Oh, this stuff is complicated. Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went through this PR already. I left a few questions. Looks good to me for the most part. In general, it's very confusing when we add the extra dimension of namespace versus cluster scoped verifiers, and especially when we're dealing with cert store, which is not going to add the equivalent functionality for both cluster and namespaced, right? It's going to stay namespaced. So there's a lot of like scenarios. Like Binbin has done a good job here with the
Yes.
table
I
here.
had a question around this that I wanted to discuss. Like we will not prepend the namespace.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so if we did not prepend, the current customers verifiers are cluster level, right? Like I know one of your question is around like compatibility.
Yeah.
And if they didn't, then the expected behavior is that it returns certificate from gatekeeper cert 1 if it exists. So if we're not prepending, how are we achieving that? Do you know?
That was actually one of my questions I had.
Yeah, even though it says this is the expected behavior, right?
Yeah, so I'm trying because there's two levels, right? There's what the user sees, and then on the Ratify side, how we store it internally in the map that will actually match it to the correct certs. So in the Verify controller, if you remove the appending of the namespace to the actual reference, that means that when you're searching it in the map, you're not going to be looking for that unless the map, when you created your cert store, you never prepended the namespace on that end. But if that happens, technically you could have conflicts where you have multiple cert stores of the same name conflicting. So I think the way Binbin has done it is actually, yeah, I'm not sure. I think that he's gonna have to come and explain it to us. There's a lot of levels here, so
Yeah, but in general, like the expected behavior looks
Yes.
good to me. Like
Yeah.
it makes sense, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Like we want, if you are, even though the verifier is going to get updated to add like the namespace version of it, it's still the existing verifier is cluster scoped, and the new one is still cluster scoped, right? Because that's what we decided, that the namespaced ones will be the ones that get the new resources. So we expect that if you said no, you didn't prepend the namespace, it should automatically prepend it, and then, but it'll have the special case because the cert store, the general policy for KMP at least is that if you cannot prepend the namespace in a cluster scoped verifier, right? Cluster scope only interacts with cluster scoped KMPs. It does not interact with namespace level KMPs. But in the cert store, because it's only namespaced, the verifier, even though it's cluster scoped, will have to interact with a namespaced cert store. That's the special case there. So that's the confirmation I think we need from Binbin, that special case exists, that we support that scenario still.
Yeah. Which is the special case that he's listed, right? So for the certs, for the KMP, it's going to return the cluster KMP. But for cert store, it's going to return the gatekeeper cert one. So this is the Ratify installed.
Yeah.
So the expected, it's addressed from the expected behavior table. But yeah, I see your question.
There's actually one scenario missing, because we support not just in the Ratify namespace, but if you specify any namespace, right? It could be that you put it in the default or the demo or some other namespace too. Like if the user explicitly defined demo/ratify in the demo namespace, it should still work even though the verifier is cluster scoped.
Let's see. So the verifier is cluster scoped. And if the reference is like, say, namespace 1, then it returns the cert. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
This table should be user facing because
I actually think it should not. There's no way anyone
Okay.
can understand this.
I see. But it's not useful as a point of reference, like, because customer's going to be like, okay, I have a cluster verifier or I have a namespace verifier. Can I reference a cluster cert store? Like they're going to have that question, right? Because the reverse is not true. Like if you have a
So yes, I agree that it would be useful to point them to this once they have the question. Now the question is, where should this live? Because if you add it to the regular documentation, I believe that this is actually, if you don't understand the scenario very clearly on this, what this matrix defines, it's just more confusing than anything. It's like, well, what is this?
Yeah, it won't be a part of the walkthrough, but it's like when you're having question, like what can reference what, we should have a table that says this is the expected behavior.
Yeah, like it could live in the troubleshooting guide, maybe.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Not like up to front, it's like, oh, look how complicated we are.
Yeah,
That'll be intimidating. I agree.
exactly. That's the point. We should be able to abstract away as much as possible from the user. And if they're interested, then sure, then it's on them. They can get into the complexity.
Yeah. If they only needed on a if needed basis.
Yep.
Okay, let's review the question here.
These are basically the question that we discussed.
Yeah. So if it's namespace reference, then yes, it'll be matched to, like if you reference a namespace, it should find that cert store in that namespace. And if they had a non-namespace reference to the search store, the previous non-namespace reference will still point to the Ratify installed namespace. Yes. So the question is like, okay, if we remove the prepending, how does it work?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had that question too. Yeah. Because the expected behavior clearly says it does go back. Just kind of read Binbin's comment. Removed get store. Moved prepend namespace logic to get certs from store method.
Get certs from store. That's in the cert store controller method. But it still needs to be handled on the verifier side, right? That's where the reference is made.
So where is this get certs from store? It's not the trust policy implementation. It's the controller certificate store controller implementation.
I don't think it's in the controller. It's in the actual certificate stores implementation that the controller interacts with that, but the core logic lives in the certificate stores.go.
Yeah. This kind of makes sense because now this is a special case for cert store.
Yeah, that like if it exists there, it makes sense.
Yeah.
My question is that's at the cert store level, right? Right. You have when you configure the cert store or you're fetching from the cert store, you could define like the namespace there. But when you on the verifier side, how do you know which you need to tell get certs from store that I want something from this namespace or whatever?
So I think the verifier would say, it'll say like, this is the name. The verifier only have the name of the cert store, right? And then when it gives this name to cert store implementation, cert store is gonna go, oh, this thing doesn't have a namespace to it. I'm gonna find it in the
Okay.
installed namespace.
Got it. Okay, so it does all of that in the cert store itself rather than having the verifier previously was doing that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Just to if you can just confirm that, and then I think it looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, that one should be simple. It's adding the namespace to verifier, and then it's adding the test for multi-tenancy.
Yep.
Yeah.
The one concern I had for the end-to-end tests is that Binbin introduces a multi-tenancy equivalent test for the all-in-one test that we have, where we sign, have an SBOM, have vulnerability scan, have license checker.
105 changes.
No. So this is accrued over the last PRs, right? So each PR builds on each other. Yeah. So, but you can see that over the last 4 PRs, there's 3,841 additions. So big change here.
Okay.
But
sorry. With the all-in-one test.
Yeah. So the problem with the all-in-one test is that that's already the most flaky test, right? We have that Aura store issue. So if we introduce yet another all-in-one test, we're making our chances that stuff will fail even more, right?
Yeah, I think let's make it basic. Like if it's not adding more coverage.
Yeah. So that's why I left a comment on there, like what's like the purpose, like, and point out that it's likely this is going to cause tests to fail even more. So.
Yeah. Let's just have targeted scenario, like gonna verify all-in-one just for Kubernetes, that's even good enough.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed. Just having a look at the discussions to make sure there's no new activity. Yep, nothing new. And just I want to have a look at our issues list. Should we do a little bit of cleanup here?
Can we do it without the other folks?
We can just do the ones that we know probably. So for example, this one, because I'm already working on it, it's in 1.2.
Okay, yeah, we could remove some of the triage labels and put them in the milestone.
Yeah, so I can remove this. That's done, right? Like there's no save button, so
Yeah, it's done. Yep.
I can assign myself. All right. And there's this one, breaking changes. It's not an enhancement. No. Yeah, I think when Sajay was asking about like major version is implicit when you follow semantic versioning.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, the definitions is needed for minor version.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
This is why, like, the other day at some other things, like, okay, Shui, do you have this doc? Shui is like, we just say we follow semantic versioning. That's it. Like, okay.
Yeah, that's why it's like it's I feel like it's really easy to go down the rabbit hole of being like, oh, we should have all these processes and all this defined, but you also want to look at the size of the repo and take what others have done and we'll add to it as we need. I think let's not put barriers in place.
Validation.
Oh,
How do you
that was the other thing. Slightly off topic, but for the repo move, Sajay recommended that when we move the repository, we shouldn't transfer our Helm chart where we publish our Helm charts just to be the new Ratify org IO, you know, the GitHub pages for Ratify in the new organization. We should try to set up some infrastructure so it publishes to our website instead.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
but
just,
it doesn't help our current one,
this
right?
doesn't help right now. But
yeah,
when we move to the new repo, we should figure out a flow that we can get it published to a path on our
just in case we
Ratify.
move again.
Move again, yeah, or something else changes. I don't know. So.
Just to introduce another layer. Should publish our charts to doc site for in the future instead of like binding it to
the
repo. Yeah, that makes sense. Should I close it?
Is it done? Oh
The
yeah.
validation itself is done, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'll just close it.
I think I misspelled meeting. So many E's. Meeting. It's okay.
No worries.
What else is here? Track breaking. So pass trace IDs for E2E test. Set up code coverage. Like a lot of these internal engineering items, the PMs don't necessarily pay that much attention to it, so we can just triage it. So this one is 1.3, right?
Yeah, 1.3.
Oh, got the wrong thing. Milestone. So no triage needed. Okay. To do. What is the new to do tag?
I don't know. We can just edit it. Let's remove it.
Yeah. Interesting. Sorry. Issues are not categorized, is it? Like I understand the I guess a tag, like is it a feature, is it a chore? I think it's a chore. Like should we label it that way?
I haven't seen common convention across repos. Some will, some won't. So we can just leave it as it is right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Conventional commits is more standardized.
Yeah. Migration guide is not happening.
That's for 1.3, right?
Yeah. Oh, it's already in 1.3. Good. Trace ID. I don't think Binbin's implemented this, right?
I think we should just put it in future.
Yeah. This is after the repo move.
Yep. 1.3.
That to me. Looks good. This is also 1.3 because we need the token. Track breaking changes in V2. So this is like a tracking thing. So it's future.
Yeah, because we don't have a V2 milestone yet, right? We should probably have Luis create one so we can start to put items in there.
Do I have access? So setting, like what I've learned is if we wait, might not happen.
Yeah.
Might as well do it. If you get in
Yeah.
trouble, do it later.
Yeah. Yeah. If you can do it, that'd be great. I can check if
Yeah. Where
do.
is that page? Projects, is it?
Maybe you can
No.
try. No?
I don't know how to, oh, there it is, this little tab here.
Oh, so you found it?
Yep.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll just create it now.
Sorry, what's the name? Like V2 point, like that. Is that what we call it? Okay, let's go back. Yeah. The optional. That's it. Okay. Where's the button? Create milestone. Now we put that in there. And it's not. It's like it defaults putting that label, which is incorrect.
I think that's a part of our issue template.
Okay. Yeah. At least we don't see any yellow. Why are there a lot of triage from long time ago?
What is this?
Untriaged issue. Yeah, for these we need
Oh, this.
input.
Yeah, I don't know. This one, we need PM input. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Anything else? Have 5 more minutes left. Let me know how the PR looks for the patch.
Yeah, I'll take a look right now. When should we cut the tag?
Yeah, so after that PR merges, I'll create the chart changes. I'm trying to think, should I update what are we gonna do with the helm, like the dev files, the Helm files?
So I think here's what we'll do for now. Let's not do anything about changing workflows. After the release, I'll send a PR to manually update them.
Okay, so just do the chart changes.
Yeah, just do the chart changes. I'll send a PR to dev and I'll update the helmfile.yaml and the dev.helmfile.yaml to point to the 1.1.2.1 version of the chart for Ratify.
Okay, sounds good. So after that chart merges, we'll be ready to release, but I have some interviews for the afternoon, so I'll probably do it after just so I can monitor it better.
Okay. Yeah, no worries.
So thinking about this afternoon.
Okay, so wait,
Is it too risky or do you want to wait till the morning?
Afternoon. Oh, so how many hours from now? I'm trying to think, what is afternoon?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, no rush. Let's just, I can tag it and then, I'll draft up the release note, but won't publish the release. Like, do you think I should tag it, which would then trigger all the workflows?
Yeah, so I mean, the publishing of the release that's not the important part. It's whether the tagging workflow kicks off all the releases properly and everything succeeds. That's the part that's important.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you can just push the tag and then I guess if there is an issue, we can deal with it either that same day or the next day.
Yeah, it's just gonna publish. It'll take a while, like experience, like half an hour, like all these workflows will run. I'm gonna check the results, and then we're gonna check the results, and then once everything looks good, then it's done tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it's more of a practice, like how to take a security patch.
yeah, this is the first one. So I'm hoping it goes smoothly. Hopefully we haven't forgotten anything. So
yeah, we'll see.
yeah, because we can delete releases easily on GitHub, but deleting for chart a little bit more complicated. So
yeah. So if we make a typo there, have we done that? Like I know we've done the alpha v like 11 release, like that was the one time where we had to unpublish something, right? And it was like a big pain because you have to do all these steps because once in a while we get an issue from Noel. It's like, hey, you still haven't unpublished.
yeah, so I haven't had an issue where we published, like that was the only time where we did the semantic versioning incorrectly. But I've had an issue where the workflow failed partially because of some weird dependency.
Yeah, like strings or
Yeah,
strings in the chart, which good. We're not updating it on the string. Like in the PR, there are some things that cherry picked from the 1.20 upgrade to 1.21 Golang. So there's a little bit of unrelated things in there, but I don't think they touch chart values.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because
give it a review. Let me know if you have any questions.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, or we can look at it now if you want. Like while we're on the call already.
Sure.
I'll just do a quick show of the changes, just in case like you see something major, like see the Docker files. There's the variant update. So there's a lot of like 1.2 to 1.21 because the packages some of the packages, the dependable updated requires 1.21. Otherwise, I wasn't going to cherry pick that. It's like, oh, it does not build anymore. Okay.
I think the only one I'd scrutinize is the release YAML, because we're going to use that as part of
Yeah,
the flow.
exactly. All the workflows does not really matter. The release YAML, it's just specifying the Go version.
Okay. Yeah, I think that should be fine, because this is actually where I ran into an issue last time. The last release I had to re-release twice because the quotes were missing. Uh,
I remember that, yes.
yeah, so the quotes are there, so I think we're okay.
Okay. And contributing guide doesn't matter. And the mod, this is where all the package updates.
Okay, if you scroll down, I just want to make sure. Okay.
But yeah, take a detailed look. Just first validation, like it's bumped up the version, like it didn't go the other way because there was a lot of manual incoming local clicks.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm looking for, just making sure that it's bumped up, not down.
Yeah, exactly. So Docker file, this was cherry-picked as a part of the 1.21 upgrade as well. So a lot of things under.
Yeah, these are just lint fixes.
Yeah. Auth.gar, it's just the return at the end. Testing doesn't matter. Yeah, all the other ones are testing, except this query thing, which is the same move from else to the end of the function.
Looks good to me. So,
but take your time. Yeah, but we've ran through the major things that you need to look for.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll review it now and I'll approve it probably within the next 20 minutes.
Yeah, sounds good. And I'll prep a little bit for my interview.
Cool. Alrighty.
Thank you, Akash. Talk to you later.
Yep. Bye.